Well, good evening, everybody. Let me start by thanking Foreign Minister Steinmeier and the people of Germany for hosting this important meeting of the International Syria Support Group on the margins of the Munich Security Conference. And we're very grateful to our colleague Frank Walter for his help and assistance in this process and his participation as a member of the ISSG. During this time, the perception of many members was that the regime of Bashar al-Assad was violating international law by trying to force surrender through starvation. And with the help of indiscriminate bombing, the regime intensified its assault in Aleppo, killing civilians and forcing more than 60,000 Syrians to flee their homes in search of refuge across the Turkish border. Foreign Minister Lavrov worked closely with me and with the rest of the members today, and I'm pleased to say that as a result, today in Munich, we believe we have made progress on both the humanitarian front and the cessation of hostilities front. And these two fronts, this progress, has the potential, fully implemented, fully followed through on, to be able to change the daily lives of the Syrian people. First, we have agreed to accelerate and expand the delivery of humanitarian aid beginning immediately. Sustained delivery will begin this week. First, to the areas where it is most urgently needed, Deir ez-Zor, Fuad, Kafreya, the besieged areas of rural Damascus, Madaya, Muthimiyah, Kafir Batna, and then to all the people in need throughout the country, particularly in the besieged or hard-to-reach areas, the smaller neighborhoods and towns. This access is specifically called for in UN Security Council Resolution 2254, and to ensure that it is fully implemented, the United Nations will convene a task force made up of members of the ISSG and of relevant UN entities and of countries that have an influence on the parties particularly. And this working group will meet tomorrow in Geneva. It will ensure that humanitarian access is granted by all sides to all people who require help. And it will meet, as I said, for the first time tomorrow. It will report weekly on progress or lack thereof to help ensure a consistent and timely and approved access moving forward. I will say that it was unanimous. Everybody today agreed on the urgency of humanitarian access. And what we have here are words on paper. What we need to see in the next few days are actions on the ground in the field. And Stefan will speak to that. In addition, the ISSG members will work together with the Syrian parties to ensure the immediate approval and the completion of all pending UN access requests. As everybody knows, there have been about 114 of them, only 13 or so, 14 approved, and that has to change. Second, we have agreed to implement a nationwide cessation of hostilities to begin in a target of 1 week's time. That's ambitious, but everybody is determined to move as rapidly as possible to try to achieve this. This will apply to any and all parties in Syria, with the exception of the terrorist organizations Daesh and al-Nusra, and any other terrorist organization designated by the Security Council. To that end, we have also established a task force under the auspices of the UN and co-chaired by Russia and the United States. And over the coming week, this group will work to develop the modalities for a long-term, comprehensive, and durable cessation of violence, of hostilities. We will begin to exercise our influence by the commitment of every country at the table immediately for a significant reduction in violence as we work towards the full cessation of hostilities. Now, I want to underscore, putting an end to the violence and the bloodshed is obviously essential, as is providing Syrians who are starving the humanitarian aid that they desperately need. But ultimately, the end of this conflict will only come when the parties agree on a plan for a political transition in accordance with the Geneva Communiqué of 2012. And we have no illusions about how difficult that is. No one here is, following some pipe dream in this effort. People fully understand that compromise will be necessary, that it will be essential to resolve very tough issues that are outstanding. But without a political transition, it is not possible to achieve peace. Today, all ISSG members agree that the Geneva talks should resume as soon as possible, and they should resume in strict compliance with UN Security Council Resolution 2254. And the ISSG also pledges, all of us, to take every single measure we can to facilitate progress within the negotiations. In December, we agreed on a 6-month time frame for the political transition process. And today, we reaffirmed our commitment to that timeline. We approach this, I think, with a uniform belief that the killing and the starvation of innocent people needs to end as soon as possible. Now, obviously, just in closing, I'll say, our hard work is obviously far from over. But our work today, while it has produced commitments on paper, I want to restate, the real test is clearly whether or not all the parties honor those commitments and implement them in reality. What I've said again and again is we cannot guarantee success in the outcome. What the diplomatic process can guarantee is that we exhaust the possibilities of diplomacy and that we make every best effort to try to produce a platform on which the parties themselves can determine their future. That is what we're trying to do here. The longer this conflict persists, the better it is for extremists. The more people like Daesh profit. And they have found a safe haven in war-torn Syria, and we are determined that we're going to continue and upgrade and increase our efforts to degrade and destroy Daesh as fast as possible. I am hopeful that the progress we're making here will be real, that we'll be able to see this reduction in violence, which everybody accepted as a fundamental organizing principle of this effort, and that within this week we can get the modalities secured for the cooperation necessary to be able to produce a ceasefire. We also agreed in the ISSG that there's no way to institute a ceasefire effectively and no way to produce the access we want for humanitarian assistance without all of the ISSG members working with Russia and others in an effort to guarantee that the access is provided and that the cessation of hostilities actually takes hold. And to that end, we have agreed, all of us, to work with Russia in a way that deals with the political, the humanitarian, and the military components of this challenge.